Imagine being called by God to leave everything you've ever known, your family, your home, your security, without knowing where you're going or how it will all unfold. This was the life of Abraham, a man whose faith would be tested in ways most of us can't even imagine. From his unwavering obedience to the God of Israel, to the heart-wrenching moment when he was asked to sacrifice his only son, Abraham's journey is one of incredible trust and divine promise. Join me as we uncover the extraordinary life of Abraham, whose story continues to shape the course of history and faith to this very day. Welcome to the remarkable story of Abraham, one of the most pivotal figures in the Bible, whose unwavering faith and devotion to God are the foundation of many faith traditions. From his early call to leave his homeland to the ultimate test of sacrifice, Abraham's journey is a testament to trust, obedience, and divine promise. Join me as we walk through his incredible life, marked by divine encounters, a covenant with God, and a journey that would alter the course of history. In the ancient world, in the land of Ur, there lived a man named Abram, later to be known as Abraham. He was the son of Terah, a man from a family of idol worshippers. But God had a special plan for Abram. One day when Abram was 75 years old, God spoke to him, saying, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you." This was no small request. Abram was to leave everything he knew, his family, his home, his culture, without knowing exactly where he was going. Yet without hesitation, Abram obeyed. He trusted in God's promise. God told him that he would make him into a great nation, bless him, and make his name great. Abram's faith took him to the land of Canaan, where God appeared to him again, saying, "To your offspring I will give this land." Abram built an altar there in faith, marking the beginning of a covenant that would bind him to God and to the promises made. Though he was promised a land and many descendants, Abram had no children of his own. His wife Sarai was barren, and time was passing. But Abram did not lose hope in God's promise. Years went by, and God appeared to Abram once again, reaffirming his promise. This time God made a covenant with Abram, saying, "I am your shield, your very great reward." But Abram was still troubled, asking,
"What is this land that you have promised us?"
God then instructed Abram to bring a heifer, a goat, a ram, a dove, and a pigeon, and to cut them in half. This was a traditional act in the ancient world to seal a covenant. Abram did as instructed, and as the sun began to set, a deep sleep fell upon him. In that sleep, God spoke to him, revealing that his descendants would be strangers in a foreign land, and that they would be oppressed for 400 years. But in the end, they would return to the land of Canaan. This covenant, marked by the ritual of the sacrifice, established a powerful promise that Abraham's descendants would inherit the land, despite the challenges that lay ahead. God's covenant with Abram was a promise that transcended time and generations. Years passed, and Sarai still had no children. Feeling the weight of time, Sarai took matters into her own hands. She gave her maidservant, Hagar, to Abram as a surrogate, believing that this was how God's promise would be fulfilled. Hagar became pregnant, and Sarai became jealous. The tension between the women grew, and eventually Sarai sent Hagar and her son, Ishmael, away into the wilderness. But God was with Hagar and promised her that her son, Ishmael, would also become the father of a great nation. However, God's covenant was not with Ishmael. It would be through Sarai, despite her old age, that God's promise would come to fruition. At the age of 99, God appeared to Abram again, confirming his covenant and changing his name to Abraham, meaning father of many nations. Sarai's name was also changed to Sarah. God told Abraham that Sarah would bear a son, and his name would be Isaac. Abraham, now an old man, laughed in disbelief. He was 99 years old and Sarah was 90. But God assured him, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" In time, Sarah conceived, and Isaac was born, just as God had promised. Abraham was 100 years old when his long-awaited son arrived. The birth of Isaac was the fulfillment of God's covenant with Abraham. As Isaac grew older, Abraham's faith was tested in the most unimaginable way. God called Abraham and said, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Abraham's heart must have been torn. This was the son of promise, the one through whom all of God's promises would come true. Yet without hesitation, Abraham obeyed God's command. Early the next morning, he set out with Isaac and 2 servants, carrying the wood for the offering. After 3 days of travel, they reached the mountain. Abraham told his servants to stay behind as he and Isaac went up the mountain. Isaac, not yet understanding, asked his father, "The fire and the wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham responded, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." As they reached the top of the mountain, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood. He then bound Isaac and placed him on the altar. Just as Abraham raised the knife to sacrifice his son, an angel of the Lord called out, "Abraham! Abraham!" Abraham stopped, and the angel said, "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught in the thicket by its horns. He took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering instead of Isaac. God provided, just as Abraham had trusted. The place was named "The Lord Will Provide," a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness to his promises. After this incredible trial, Abraham's life continued, but sorrow also touched his heart. Sarah, his beloved wife, passed away at the age of 127. Abraham mourned deeply for her and purchased a burial site in the cave of Machpelah, where he buried her. This was a moment of grief for Abraham, but also a reminder that the promises God made to him would endure beyond his lifetime. He would one day see the fulfillment of God's promises, even if it meant passing them down to his descendants. In his later years, Abraham took another wife, Keturah, and had 6 children. Yet it was Isaac, his son of promise, who carried forward the covenant that God had made with him. Abraham lived to be 175 years old and was gathered to his people, leaving behind a legacy of faith, trust, and obedience to God. The story of Abraham is more than a historical account. It is a story of deep faith. From the moment God called him to leave his homeland to the ultimate test of sacrificing his son, Abraham's life was one of trust in God's promises. His story reminds us that God is faithful, even when the path seems uncertain. Through Abraham, we see the power of obedience, the importance of trusting God's timing, and the ultimate reward for those who walk by faith. As the Bible says in Hebrews 11:8-10, "By faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going." Abraham's journey is a testament to the power of faith and the unshakable promise that God will always provide. Abraham's legacy lives on, not just through his descendants, but through all who choose to follow his example of faith and obedience. His story is a reminder that no matter the trials we face, God's promises are always faithful, and he will provide. This incredible journey through the life of Abraham, his story of faith, obedience, and unwavering trust in God's promises is not just a tale from the past. It is a timeless reminder that no matter how difficult the journey, God's plans are always perfect, and his promises never fail. From the moment God called him to leave everything he knew to the unimaginable test of sacrificing his son, Abraham's life teaches us the power of trusting in God's timing, believing in his promises, and following his will even when the path is uncertain. Abraham's legacy is more than just a historical account. It's an inspiration for all who walk in faith. His unwavering belief that God would provide, that God would deliver, and that God would keep his promises continues to be a guiding light for millions around the world today. As we reflect on Abraham's journey, let it be a reminder to all of us that no matter the challenges we face, we too can trust in the faithfulness of God. Just as he was with Abraham, he is with us, guiding us, and providing for us every step of the way. If you found this story inspiring and would like to hear more stories of faith, hope, and perseverance, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you'll get access to more powerful stories, deep reflections, and meaningful lessons that will continue to inspire and uplift your faith journey. Thank you once again for watching. May you be encouraged and strengthened in your own journey of faith, just as Abraham was. Take care and remember, no matter the mountain you face, with God, nothing is impossible. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories, and I'll see you in the next video.
What